Hello, Spark fans. Welcome back to Advancing Spark, brought to you by Advancing Analytics, your favorite neighborhood engineering and AI consultancy. I'm going to talk to you about productionizing Gen AI use cases, because everybody can throw together a Gen AI POC these days. With things like agent bricks and all these things coming along, it is so easy to just click a few buttons and get an agent actually working and looking like it's doing what you want, and you can just slap it into production, and it's easy as that, right? Well, not quite. There's a lot of production concerns. How much is it going to cost? Is it going to fall over? Am I going to finish consuming all my tokens and have to switch to a different provider? There's a ton of things that come into actually productionizing a Gen AI use case that people don't think about before they leap into the fun part of slapping a POC together. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Talking about Mosaic AI Gateway, how you get started with it, what it does, why you would want to use it, how it fits into the whole big picture. And to do that, I'm going to need our favorite AI expert, Gavi, in with us. Hi, Gavi.
Hi, Sai. Nice to see you again, talking about AI.
It's been a while.
Exactly.
We haven't done a video for ages.
Yes, we haven't. You've been busy.
Video for a while. Yeah, well, I've been on holiday.
I can tell, Sai. I can tell.
That's right. It's not just the camera. I have just been sizzling in the sun. It is all good. Right. We're going to talk AI Gateway.
Yeah, exactly what you said, right? Spinning up Gen AI applications, it's so easy. It's becoming easier day by day, Sai. But the real fun and the real challenge is about taking these Gen AI apps and productionizing it and making sure it's safe, it's governable, and most importantly, keeping your costs under control and not letting it spiral out of control, Sai. And we're going to be talking about why Mosaic AI Gateway is going to be your best friend when it comes to productionizing Gen AI applications in Databricks.
So you got some slides to remind us what we need to talk about, right?
I have got some slides, although you don't really like my exciting slides, Sai. But the reason why we've got those slides is because Mosaic AI Gateway has been jam-packed with all these 5 features, right? 5 features that we're going to talk about. And honestly, it's jam-packed. I can't remember every little thing, and I'm going to make sure that everything is covered. And I've got the slides as a very quick pointer, Sai.
Okay, so the slides is because we're getting old and we can't remember everything these days. I get you. That's fine. That's all good.
But anyway, the way to think about Mosaic AI Gateway is your single control tower, right? Single control tower that's monitoring your rate limits, everything going through your endpoint, guardrails, which is very, very important, especially when you work in a regulated industry. Guardrails is not optional anymore. It's pretty much a mandatory feature that everyone thinks about having and implementing when you talk about productionizing Gen AI applications. Usage tracking, keeping track, who's using your endpoints, how much they're using your endpoints, your prompts that are going through your endpoint as well. You want to be keeping tabs on it, or just having a general understanding in terms of what kind of prompts are going through, what kind of responses are coming out, whether how much is it costing you, all that usage tracking.
I mean, you know me, Gavi, I'm an engineer at heart. Like, who used it? Why did they use it? What do they do with it? How much is it going to cost me? And how do I make sure it doesn't break? These are things I care about.
Yep, exactly. Same with payload logging. But I think my favorite thing when you're talking to external models, having done it in the past, traffic routing, splitting, and fallbacks being so difficult, it is so easy now using Mosaic AI Gateway Sai. So we're going to very quickly go through the boring slides, and then I'm going to show you how easy it is via a demo to set all these 5 different features up using Mosaic AI Gateway Sai. All right. So first feature, right? Let's talk about what's the first feature? Let's talk about payload logging, enable usage tracking. So when you fire up Mosaic AI Gateway, you see this little UI, right? And you can set everything up using the serving UI that will show very, 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 very soon. Enable usage tracking comes as default side, and you can't scale what you can't measure, right? So what it really does, it tracks all your calls, your tokens, your usage, and your costs. Really, really important to you as an engineer as well, like you mentioned before. And it supports FinOps and budgeting. So if you really need to understand your budget, if you really need to understand your metrics in terms of how much it's costing you in terms of the endpoint, this is really important. And like I said, right, it's enabled by default now. critical for regulated environments, and it's backed by Unity catalog system tables. So in terms of a few gotchas, it's a billable feature. I think we spoke about this earlier on. No idea how much it costs, but Sai, you don't think it costs too much, does it?
No, it's not huge, but there's a little bit of writing data down to the system tables, a little bit of just keeping that data locally. So there is cost associated, but I don't think it's massive. But I guess this is one of those things people don't think about until they need it. It's one of those things where if you get a model and you put it into production, and then you're like, oh, maybe it's not great. Maybe we need to go back and actually figure out the answers it's giving. Maybe we need to change how it's working. Oh, we forgot to put some observability in. We now need to start tracking it so we can figure out what's going on. That's too late. You want to put observability in from the very start so that you know how's it tracking, you know the kind of answers it's giving. You've got all that information so that you can then you need a feedback loop. And this is the way you get a feedback loop.
You can't scale what you can't measure. So one thing I realized is system tables requires your account admin to enable. So if you don't have that enabled, then you need to just speak to your account admin to get that enabled. We've had that issues with some of our customers.
Although to be fair, if you're not using system tables, you're doing things wrong these days.
That's true.
Absolutely. People do need to enable it, but you should be using system tables to have any kind of telemetry about your Databricks workspace these days. So use it, and then that'll be good.
Nice. Yep. One thing I should say is it's not real time. It can take up to 60 minutes for logs to appear. And it makes sense, right? If you're talking to an external endpoint, to get that information back, extract that metadata, it's going to take a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes. So it can take up to 60 minutes. So if you don't see something immediately in the system tables, then just don't be too alarmed. It will appear 100%.
Yeah, so it's like an asynchronous history that you use when you look at the big picture of things, not an immediate logging endpoint.
I love that technical term, asynchronous.
Cool. All right, what's next?
All right, let's talk about enabling inference table. Now, this doesn't come as a default tick when you look at your Mosaic AI Gateway, right? But this is really, really important when you think about logging for safety and compliance. It logs all your prompts, your responses and tokens, and latency. So if you need to understand, why is it taking so long for me to get a response? This is why you need to be going and having a look at the table and understanding it. You get everything is stored in Delta, backed by Delta, and you see, right? So if you want auditable history, this is it. You need to be taking this. You need to be enable inference tables.
Okay, so I've got
a couple of gotchas. Yes.
Okay, so we've got
one
that says,
different system
this is how much you used it. This is how much it costs. This is the amount of tokens, all that kind of stuff. And one that says, this is what they put in. This is what they get out. This is actually how we maintain the accuracy of things. So you need to balance across the two.
Yeah, I have both of these enabled for any kind of productionization of Gen AI apps, right? My first thing to do is to take these two and make sure that everything is being logged. I've got a couple of gotchas though, Sai. I've got a couple of gotchas. Now, if you are sending payloads larger than 1 megabyte, not megabyte, then it doesn't get logged, right? So if you've got a RAG application, for example, and you've got a huge prompt that's bigger than 1 megabyte, which approximated to 1 megabyte, then it's not going to be logged.
That's fair. I mean, and you can get away with talking about a megabyte as a megabyte. That maybe similar sizes, just a matter of precision in terms of terminology.
I love the way megabyte sounds compared to megabyte. But yeah, cool. Anyway, inference table, it looks, I've got a little screenshot, right? But we'll go through the demo and kind of showcase what this means, how you can automatically use dashboards features within Databricks to have a look at all of these different things being tracked as well.
All right, good.
All right.
Yeah.
AI Guardrails, probably my second favorite feature, should be my favorite feature, right? But this is important when you talk about protecting what's coming out, what's going in and what's coming out. And we'll see a quick demo as well. I've been a little cheeky here, so I've set up 2 serving endpoints, one with AI Guardrails enabled and one without, and we're going to see how that performs, right, in a bit. But essentially, it does what it says in the tin. It just blocks unsafe and disallowed content. It's really important for regulated industry, right? It's pretty much mandatory now. So yeah, I would also enable this feature. Now, as soon as you enable this feature, because AI Guardrails does another step in terms of just putting that filter and blocking unsafe content, if you are sending a batch size, it's capped at 16. So large batches essentially just slows down, latency increases, and it just caps it at 16.
So the way to think about this is if you were trying to build your own app and you're trying to like get into your prompt all the safety guardrails, you'd have to write this massive long thing to try and capture this, and you're relying on the LLM itself actually getting that context and building it into it. Because this is like a little layer, a little kind of thing it has to go through as it tries to send the request in and as it tries to get the request out, just going, no, that's going to block. Let's not even send that to the LLM because you're not allowed to send that information. It's a little capture piece that is kind of a little guardian, a little gateway that's sitting between you and there that applies a lot of these rules. So you don't have to manage and maintain a list of swear words, a list of things that you can't talk about. Just have a common definition managed inside service, say, turn that on, and then you don't need to bake that into every single prompt you ever write.
You don't. And, without Mosaic AI Gateway in the past, we use Presidio as well. So that's a huge open source framework, very, very good. It's all now baked in within the AI Guardrails feature that you see here now. So it's a lot easier, right? It also has a safety feature, and they use Llama Guard. I love that Llama icon. But yeah, it's all baked into that. Just one tick box. Enable it, and you get your safety checks and PII all done for you in the background.
Nice and easy.
One thing to mention.
The side of production people don't tend to think about. They think of it in terms of like scale and observability and logging and the engineering side. Whereas engineers wouldn't go, have you enabled the ethics and responsibility and safety side? Because that's very much a traditional AI side of things. It's vital.
It is critical. One thing to note, right, if it's still in public preview, so don't build your whole compliance story on just using those features. There's a lot of other open source packages that you can bring in, but it's really good. And we'll see a demo in a bit. We'll see a demo on how effective the AI guardrails are. Now, if you're using agents, one thing to note, it doesn't do a PII and safety check at every layer, because as you can imagine, there's lots of hoops. It will only do a check at the final output. Okay. Rate limits. I think you know a lot more about this than me, but it's all about your stability and cost protection side. So this is where you can come in and kind of really lock down in who uses it. Make sure that you've got your TPM and QPM all set up accordingly. This just kind of puts I like to say a choking point. I hate that word, but it just kind of controls in terms of your cost ultimately, who uses it. And so that's what. So the couple of gotchas around rate limits is TPM does not apply to agents. And as you can imagine, with agents, right, you've got many internal calls. So it's impossible to calculate how many tokens each of that intermediate call is going to cost. So it doesn't apply to agents.
I mean, so this is a classic thing in API management. If you talk to someone and say, "Hey, we've got a new application," and they go, "Cool, that sounds great. How much is it going to cost me?" And you're like, "I don't know. We'll see how much people use it." Is not the right answer. It's such a dangerous thing of like anything that charges per click or per token in this case. To say it's unbounded, we'll just see how much people use it. And then someone could abuse it. Someone could sit there and write a little script, not really knowing what they were doing. They just build a little thing that then just refreshes it every minute. Loads of things people could do accidentally that will just balloon those costs. So that's just saying there's a maximum amount of usage I'm allowed. Therefore, if someone says, how much is it going to cost? You go, well, it'll be between these boundaries, but there is an upper limit that I can fix, I can predict, I can manage around, I can budget for. And you need to make sure that's built into your user experience. It's not great if your users go, I'm sorry, you've used up all of your things. But at least you've got a cap. You've got some protection in there. You've got some level of management in there, as opposed to having nothing.
And I think it's important, right? I think it's important to do this thing just to make sure that you don't just, your cost doesn't spiral out of control. All right, the last thing, my favorite side is the fallbacks, right? Having done this in the past, fallbacks are a pain to maintain, and a pain to kind of mitigate as well. So this is brilliant. You tick, and it automatically does all the rerouting to up to two backup models. And it triggers on your 429 errors, which has been the bane of our lives, and your 5x's errors, which is your system errors, right? And this is essential when you think about productionizing GenAI apps. This is essential. You don't want your users to get 429 errors and getting frustrated about, hey, I can't use my endpoint because I've got your 429 errors. This almost covers everything for you in the background, in the back end.
And that was absolutely huge in the early days of Gen AI apps, right? Because everyone was flooding to it, trying to use it. And it was so common to ping your local kind of endpoint in your local region, and it would go, this region's out of tokens. This region is simply not working today because too many people are using it. And to be able to go, oh, we'll just use that region instead. It was something we had to build in outside systems. We had to use other kind of cloud API management systems. We had to build in lots of API rerouting kind of things. So this is far easier.
far easier, right? And when you get errors like this, it always affects the end user experience. So this is also really important to be enabled. A couple of gotchas. It's only available for external models, not for internal models. And you've got a maximum of 2 fallback models. And I've got a little diagram there that is pretty cool just to go through and digest, right? So if you send a prompt through an LLM, it will try an entity. If it's not successful, it will try up to 2 backup models before it says, oh, can't do this. You've absolutely failed. But honestly, using Mosaic AI Gateway, you'll see in the demo, you still tend to get the 429 errors, and you'll see how smoothly that just reroutes to other entity models that you have as backup. Agents cannot use fallback. Again, it makes sense, right? There's so many internal steps within agents, and if you switch the model partway through, that's going to just mess up the whole the way the agents think consistently. So you can't use fallbacks when you're using agents.
And I think your last point on there is an important one in terms of traffic splitting. What we used to do, lots of, again, classic API stuff, is going, I need to load balance. I want to send 20% of my users over there, 20% over there, the remaining 60% over there. That's not what we're talking about. This is a production failover. I'm trying to ping that. Oh, that's not available. I'll wait. I'll get the response back. I'll go to the next one. I'll get the response back. I'll go to the next one. So it does add into the latency for the user in that they'll have to wait for the second, third response before it gets there, but they get an eventual response. But it's not about A/B testing. It's not about splitting your traffic and routing it over multiple different models from a balancing point of view.
Exactly. Yeah. This is all about rerouting it when you're hitting those system errors, the 429 and findable errors. But that's why I've got the slide. You also can do traffic routing very easily using Mosaic AI Gateway. So anyway, that's the end of the slides. We're not going to be talking about boring slides, but it's jam-packed with features, right? Let's go through the demo side. Let's go to Databricks and let's showcase how easy it is to use all these different features and how to set it up. This is my workspace.
We are seeing your screen.
Very, very good. All right. So what we can do is set up Mosaic AI Gateway using the serving endpoint, the serving UI, which is right at the bottom on the left-hand side of my pane. It's as easy as clicking on it, and you get this little UI here. I say UI is quite big, quite comprehensive. So let's go ahead and create a serving endpoint, right? And this is where you're going to see the screen. So those are the 5 different features that we spoke about. So enable usage tracking comes as default. Then what you can do is just as simple as it, you enable inference tables. And I save it down to my catalog, right? So let's go in. Let's quickly just click on my table location and default. You've got AI Guardrails, which is preview. And here you would see you've got additional boxes to enable. You've got input guardrails. So that pretty much puts a safety filter, what's going into your LLM. And you've got your output guardrails as well. And you can see, so it's as simple as just clicking on it and making sure that everything is enabled here if you're wanting to have your safety and PII detection enabled. Okay, rate limits. This is where you can come in here. I don't really like setting this up. I like a free for all. So
you love spending all my money. I know.
I do. So I'm not going to enable rate limits. But fallbacks, like I said, right, is only enabled for external models. So if here, for example, let's go up and let's set something up in terms of an external model. Let's give it a name very quickly. And let's then select a foundation model. Here, I'm going to select OpenAI, Azure OpenAI. Now, Azure OpenAI will be a foundation model within Databricks as well, so we don't have to do this little step of talking it externally. But if you wanted to, you can come in here and set things up. And it's as simple as just making sure you know what you're choosing the right feature here. So it's Azure OpenAI that we're talking to, setting up your key secret, and I've got it all in my secret size. So let me just make sure that I'm doing
Because if you're about to place it in plain text,
I know, you're going to tell me off. Exactly. It's not plain text. Oh gosh. Here we go. So I've got it in my scope. That's it. So it's as easy as putting it in here. Now, if you need to get details of your GPT from Azure Foundry, it's really, really simple. Just swapping out really quickly. If you come into Foundry, you go into your deployments, you look at which GPT model that you want to talk to. It's as simple as just let's click on 4.1, and all the information is available in this window here. You've got your key, which you'll put in your secret scope, and you've got all your target URIs, your version, and what the model's name is. And it's as simple as just grabbing this information, going back into your serving endpoint here. Oh, where were we? And put, where am I? I think I was here. And putting all this information in this window and setting everything up. So,
but we won't need to do that very soon because you've got the GPT-5 models coming as foundations anyway.
Exactly. Now, what I really wanted to show you is the guardrails that we set up, the preview guardrails. Now, this is really cool size. So let's go on to Playground, and I've got two different endpoints side by side. Okay, so I have got my one endpoint here, and I've not enabled guardrails, and I've got another endpoint that I've enabled guardrails. So Demo AI Gateway is a endpoint that we set up previously, and let's just dig in. So there we go. We've got input guardrails, is masking and safety. So that's enabled, and then we have the test external demo, and that shouldn't be enabled, right? So that should be, yeah, so there we go. So it's not enabled. So if I were to put in any kind of PII information, that should just let it go through. Oh, let's try credit card number. I am right. So what I'm going to, there we go. So this is what happened. So what it should do is pick up and say, this is PII data. I'm not going to let this go through my LLM because we have AI guardrails enabled for this particular endpoint. But for this endpoint, we didn't have the AI guardrails enabled. So it's going to let it go through.
So the ones that we saw going through and getting a response. So even though it's saying you shouldn't be sharing that, that's just the natural inbuilt safety that you've got inside the OpenAI models. Whereas the one we've got on the right there has been stopped from even being sent through. So that's never going to appear over on that side.
Exactly. Now, this is, like I said before, right? It's in preview. You shouldn't really be building your whole compliance story around a preview feature. Our advice would be bake in more guardrails, right? But it works. It works really well. We've tried it so many times before. It does work. What I would say is Presidio and Llama Guard are very US-centric. So, NI numbers and more UK-centric PII information doesn't tend to be picked up as much as the US PII information. But right, you've seen how easy it is to enable all those different features, how you can talk to external models really quickly. But what I'm going to show you is your system tables and your inference tables. That's a pretty cool feature, right? So let's just go back into dashboards. I've already created a couple of dashboards to showcase what these are. So let's go into the Demo AI Gateway external payload. Here you can see all your status codes distribution, so you can see which have been successful, which have not been successful. You can do a lot with these dashboards. But here, what I love about it is every single request that goes through your LLM is logged. So you've got an ID, you've got dates, you've got time, you've got the status code coming in as well. You've got latency, which is important if you want to understand how a particular endpoint is performing. What I love about it is all your requests going in is stored, and what's coming out as well, and whether it's been flagged. So a couple of, like I said before, right, a couple of things that we've tried in the past with PII information has been flagged. Everything is logged in this dashboard. So it's really, really important if you're working in regulated industry, if you want to keep control of your cost and want to understand how an endpoint is being utilized, this is where you come in and you have a look at your tables.
Nerdy little engineering heart happy that we've actually got telemetry and information about this stuff without having to try and force everybody to bake it into their systems each time.
Yeah, and you can do lots of different things. You can set up lots of different tables here, like I've shown here. I've been playing around setting lots of different things here. One thing that's really cool as well is your endpoint usage. I love this, right? So this is where you can see all your fallback stuff, all the stuff that we enabled, and you can see how things have failed. And I've not really felt it at the point of testing the endpoints. It's just been rerouted automatically. And here you can see count of status code. Again, you can see all your things coming in, and this will log every single thing as well. Your input token, output token, all your metrics through your endpoint will be logged if you enable those two different features that we saw in Mosaic AI Gateway side.
And again, because the inference table and the kind of the log tables, that is just a standard structure for whatever model you're doing.
Yep.
So that just means you can build a generic dashboard, and you can have like essentially a whole model for each one of your apps. You can have a whole model health dashboard. That's just the same dashboard. You point to the different inference tables you're doing. So just build it once, use it many times, and then it's really easy.
Yeah, and the way to get to it, right, if you come to your serving endpoints, these are the tables here. So it's easy as just clicking on it, and you get to the page, and then you can build your dashboards.
And we can make a genie room over it, and then people can chat with their data to see what's going on, and life is good.
Yes, exactly. Really simple to use. Lots of features baked into Mosaic AI Gateway. The matrix is a cool feature to understand what's going on, keep tab on your cost, understand how users are using it. Fantastic features.
Awesome. All right. Anything else to show us, or is that our little tour complete?
That is our little tour complete, side. That's all about all the 5 different features within Mosaic AI Gateway. That's really, really cool when you think about productionizing GenAI applications.
Which, again, everyone should be doing. Don't just build countless POCs. Get it into prod. Get the value from it. Get the actual usage from it. That's why we're building all these things. But that is the secret sauce of what people need to be thinking about, of how you productionize a GenAI app. Is thinking about fault tolerance and failover. It's thinking about rate limits. It's thinking about logging and telemetry and the exciting bits. Just me? Okay. All right, well, thank you as ever for joining us today, Gavi. Thanks everyone for watching. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll include some links to the documentation down below. And then, we'll catch you next time.